All right. Hey everyone, Mark here. Thanks for joining me for another Greenbridge Investing market analysis. This is a live stream. I'm running a little bit behind, so I'm sorry about that. In today's session, we're going to talk about the Bitcoin situation because we have a trade on, right? And I want to explain that a little bit further. Plus, I want to go over a simple watch list for stocks this week, since the stock market is in a tough spot, as it's been for a little while, and we want to get an idea of what scenarios are within reason so that we can capitalize on opportunities or adjust if things fake out or don't go the way that they look right now, because things change real fast. So if you're new to the Greenbridge channel, if you're new to the stream, here's how it works. Place your symbol or market that you want to see in the chat now. So once I complete my analysis, I can go over the charts that you want to see when I get through the chat. Okay. Hey, HS, nice to see you. Sean, nice to see you. So again, here, so real quick, let's get this thing started, right? Because I don't want to spend 2 hours talking like I usually do. So this is for educational purposes only. For investment advice, please consult a licensed investment advisor. Now, we're going to talk about Bitcoin first, but today's Monday. So before I even talk about Bitcoin, we have to go over the calendar. Okay, it's a good idea. It's a good habit to get into. You should do it, whether you trade things that are relative to the calendar or not. This is particularly important for broad market stocks or even currencies or things relative to the dollar. All right, so let's see what's going on this week. Starting out with today. The Royal Bank of Australia meeting minutes. Okay, that's tonight, I believe. Yeah, that's not really a big deal. China retail sales, no one cares. Great Britain claimant count. I don't even know what that is. Okay, unemployment rate. I guess that's a claims thing. Whatever. Okay, it doesn't matter. So their unemployment rate. That might be slightly important for the pound. The thing is, look, the Forex has been very tough in recent weeks. We haven't had much trades. I sent out a swing trade idea just the other day on the euro, which has not been activated as far as I can tell. But again, it's been a very tough. I don't want to say slow because there's movement, but it's just not clear. Okay, so when things are not clear, you don't have to trade. Just because there's a move in the market doesn't mean you have to trade, because it's all about the risk. Okay, so on the 15th, we have the Bank of Canada Governor Macklem's speech. All right, we're not in the Canadian, so no big deal there. I don't really see any major events here. Okay, Germany, the PMI composite. Again, that's on the 16th, which is Wednesday. That's not a big number. Okay, even for the euro, I mean, it's not. The major numbers are when you have like the ECB president speaking, or an interest rate announcement, or an FOMC meeting, or a Powell testimony. That's what I'm looking for on this calendar. I'm not seeing anything here, right? So here on the 16th for the US, we have retail sales. All right. Oh, here we go. Fed's monetary policy statement. All right, here we go. I didn't even know it was on the calendar. There it is. So the Fed interest rate decision, that's at 2 p.m. and then they have their press conference at 2:30. This right here is the most important information for the week. So now, in recent meetings, there haven't been any surprises, going before the presidential election. I believe there was an FOMC meeting that week on that Wednesday or on that Thursday. And again, there hasn't been any dramatic outcomes from these meetings. But you need to be prepared because, the ideal situation is a non-event. Pretty much they don't give any surprises. The market doesn't really go anywhere. And you don't have to make any adjustments, right? That's the easy scenario. If there's a surprise, the question is it positive or is it negative, right? And then we have to adjust, and how much. But like I said, in recent times, we haven't seen anything dramatic out of it. Something dramatic could be, a 150-point move in the NASDAQ, or, a 150 pip or 200 pip move in the euro because the dollar's moving. At one time, you used to see that sort of thing as a result of a interest rate decision. Okay, you don't really see that much these days, but it doesn't hurt to be prepared. Now, on the 16th in the evening, we have New Zealand They have their numbers, unemployment rate, on their GDP number. Okay, again, not really a market mover for the U.S. Then we have Swiss, their interest rate decision. Okay, it could move the franc somewhat, but I wouldn't worry about it. Again, not a big deal. We have 2 pages here. What's on the second page? Man, there's a lot of stuff going on this week. So for the for the pound, they have their interest rate decision on the 17th. All right, so that's an important piece of information for the pound. The pound has been in a tough spot. It's like, does it want to go higher? Does it want to go lower? It's been indecisive. Something like this can have a dramatic effect on it. Again, it's about being prepared. And then Japan also has their rate decision on the 17th at 10 p.m. Eastern time. All right, so and even China has their rate decision on the 20th. Okay, when's the 20th? Is that Friday or Saturday or whatever it is? Okay, so I mean, is is their rate decision going to move the entire world? Probably not. But again, there's a lot of rate decisions this week. There's a lot of potential for surprises, although there usually aren't any. Okay, so that's, like I said, this game is about managing risk and being prepared. So what do you do with this information? Well, for one, if you're in a market that can be affected, for example, if you're in the pound or you're in the euro and there's a rate decision tomorrow or something coming up, perhaps you can reduce your position size, or perhaps you should, if you have a small profit or a small loss, maybe you don't want to take the extra risk of an expansion, a price expansion, and you just get out, okay, and take your small loss or your small win. That's controlling risk. So that's really how you use this information. A lot of people, they like to do the obvious where, you pull up there's some kind of news and then you want to buy something because the news is going to move the market. That's your standard reaction, but that's really not a good thing. That's not a good way to go about it unless you're day trading stocks. News can, there's people that just play on news, but that's a different game. That's not something it's definitely not an easy game. There is no easy game. Okay, anyway, so let's get this thing going now. Again, please share your symbols in the chat. I see you have some symbols in there. Now would be a good time. So once I get through my Bitcoin analysis and we can talk about some stocks, I'll get to your symbols while I go through the chat. I want to just say hello to everyone. Hey, David, good to see you. Sean and HS. Okay, cool. Everyone else, hello. Also, if you're new to the Greenbridge Investing channel, make sure you press the like button if you like my video, because it's very encouraging. I like to see that. Also, make sure you register or subscribe to the channel so that every time I do one of these, you get a email notification from YouTube. And the Talking Market show, which is tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern time. That's our podcast with Andrew and Henry, and we talk things. We talk more on a fundamental scale, and we compare technicals to it. So it's we're looking to improve that as well. But check it out. Also, greenbridgeinvesting.com. We have swing trade signals by text, by email. Okay, we also have portfolio management ideas by email, and we have a chat room where there's a lot of insight and analysis each day. We have a 7-day free trial. I highly encourage you to check it out because we're going to talk about one of those swing trades right now. So let's get into Bitcoin. Now, you can all see the chart here. Bitcoin has been tricky, right? So let's talk about what's been going on over the previous week. We sent out a swing trade signal up in this area, which never was activated, right? Never got activated. We canceled it. That was in like the mid 19,000s. We canceled the order. Then we had a pin bar. That was what, like on the previous Wednesday close, we had this pin bar. Was it Wednesday? Yeah, I think that was Wednesday, right? And that is the signal that basically we got tapped into on Saturday. Okay, so that pin bar right there was the buy signal. Why would we take that? For one, we have a support in the 17,000s. It's been proven, right, since the middle of November. There's been some support in the area. Now, we've been warning about the 19,000 area or the 18,500 inflection point, but as you can see, price has been gyrating around it. Not only that, but this entire consolidation can be considered one broad higher low. So anyone that's shorting this or thinks it's a short is probably going to become a buyer very soon. Okay, where there are higher lows, often they're followed by higher highs, especially when the broader structure is clearly bullish. Okay, so again, we've been warning about the resistance. When we see something like that, it's not that we become bearish, it's just we become cautious. because we want a high probability setup. We don't want to just take any setup because setups can appear anywhere, right? Markets are highly random. So we want to set up near a support, even if it's not at the best level, because the 19,000s or 18,000s, those aren't the best levels. Right now, the best levels would be like maybe the 16Ks or maybe even the high 13Ks. Those would be great levels, but Bitcoin may not revisit them anytime soon. So we have to adjust, right? Okay, no problem. As long as we can measure risk and we can measure reward. Now, so we had that pin bar develop off of that support. That's where we put the order slightly above. You all know, all of you that are members, you know, because many of you are in it. Now, an interesting thing is a couple of days after that, Saturday, this other pin bar, I'm sorry, I think this was Friday, this other pin bar developed, okay? The high of that pin bar was 18,290, or basically 18,3. That was actually another buy signal setup. That was a setup. I saw it, but I said, you know what? We have the order out there at 18,680 or whatever. It's like, I'm not going to send out another one. It's going to be confusing, and it's basically the same trade with the same targets. You know, the only difference would be that it would be a slightly better reward risk, okay? I mean, a couple of 100 points may sound like a lot, but we had the order out there. It's like, you know, let's just keep this simple. And plus, I do like the market to work. I do prefer that it work and take out a more significant level than simply a pin bar high, okay? That 18.6 was a much more significant level, 18,680 or whatever, and required a lot more work from Bitcoin, and I like to see that. So now that we have all that in place, we have a higher low established, and we're hesitating, but we're back at the range high. Weak markets don't linger at highs, okay? They reject them quickly, and they break supports, not develop new supports. So we have a second support here in the 17,000s. I'm anticipating the higher high as we unfold, as this week unfolds. We're hesitating now. Okay, no problem. I don't mind hesitation. I don't see any sell signal. You know, we have this potential inside bar, but that doesn't mean anything. You know, this can easily break higher overnight. It can do anything. Right now, we're a strong hand. We're in the green somewhat, right? Which is a good position to be in. And, you know, we have our stop in place. We know our risk. And we're on the right side of the market, right? Which is bullish. There's nothing bearish. So probability is on our side. We just have to see if we get follow through. We need to see a clean break of the 20,200. This is the resistance. It's the reversal zone boundary. This is the reversal zone up here, the 20K area. It can't just touch it and that's enough. No, it needs to clear it decisively, meaning we need a strong close above there. Once we get that, then I think, you know, we'll be pretty good for our targets. Our targets, as you all know, are distributed between our entry price and the 24K inflection point, which is way up here. Okay, that's the next leg. That's what we're looking for. Again, it's not going to go there in a straight line. Often news accompanies the move, some kind of news that's not known right now. Perhaps some other company is going to buy Bitcoin or whatever nonsense comes out. It gets the herd excited. They all pile into it, and we get out. Okay, we distribute our risk. So that's the Bitcoin swing trade idea. So if you have any questions about it, you know, please ask. Our members are obviously in it because they got the orders 3 days in advance. Talk about not reacting. Okay, now on that note, let's talk a little bit about. I just want to throw an altcoin in there, XRP, because we sent this out as an alt trade as well. Okay, at the same time. Now look at this. So Bitcoin is trying to do its thing. What's up with this? What's going on here? This, we should not be seeing this. This is not good. This is why I don't like altcoins. Okay. Now, I mean, in general, this is not. It's just a pullback inside of a broader consolidation here. I wouldn't classify that as bearish, even though the momentum is slightly bearish. But what I don't like about it is the relative weakness. Bitcoin is on its way higher. Why this thing should be also. Okay, so that's a concern. That's relative weakness, which means if Bitcoin fakes out, where is this going to go? Right? That's the question that you must ask yourself. If you're in this, you know, and you have your stop where the stop is set, respect the stop. Just take the small loss if you have to. If Bitcoin fakes out, this thing is not in a good place to, it's probably going to break its support, which right now is what, like 50 cent area, just over that 50-cent area, it's probably going to break that support the way it looks right now. Again, I wouldn't short this thing, just needs to find stability. All right, now let's take a look at something else, like Litecoin. This is what XRP should be doing, right? Bitcoin tried to make its move. Look, Litecoin tried to make a move too, because it's a follower. Bitcoin is the leader. The alts should follow. If they don't follow, that's a problem. That's relative weakness. So this is what you should see in your altcoin, something like this, okay? If Bitcoin pulls back or fakes out, where's Litecoin going to go? It'll probably do a similar thing. But Litecoin has a consolidation just like Bitcoin, okay? So if Bitcoin breaks out, I would expect the same of Litecoin. So that's just to kind of give you a refresher on how you should be gauging these things. You know, I get questions all the time about, you know, what do you think of this altcoin? What do you think of that altcoin? It's pretty much the same story, okay? So, all right, so I wanted to throw that in there. Now, let's get into the stock market real quick. If you guys have any questions, again, I haven't gone through the chat yet, but I see a bunch. I see XRP, Link, ETH, XMR. Sure, we'll take a look at the charts. All right, 3 hours. Okay, cool. Electoral college tonight. All right, getting political. Yeah, that's okay. So let's a lot of talk about a lot of drama there. Let's get into the stock market here. All right, you know, with all this uncertainty going on, especially in that area, I would think that the stock market would be a little more unsettled. But look at this. Let's take a look at this first, and then I want to talk about a couple of stocks. Right. So this is the Nasdaq, the Nasdaq 100 CFD, which I like to use in place of the futures. And Friday and Thursday we had pin bars, okay? Pin bars after a somewhat dramatic pullback, looked like it pulled back out of this zone. This zone is the reversal zone between, what is that, 12.5 and 13K, which means there's a good chance, there's a high probability chance that if it's going to fail in this zone. Now, it tried what, in the middle of the week, the previous week, and look at today's action, right? It took out Friday's high and Thursday's high, and we're closing, looks like we're closing strong. I mean, it's 30 minutes to go, and that's like a strong close. I don't see a pin bar developing. Anything can happen in 30 minutes, but still, this is a higher low over here, okay? These pin bars are now a higher low. So I would anticipate a higher high. Does that mean we're going to sneak through this resistance and keep going? It may make a slight higher high. I mean, there's no way to know. The market just needs to prove itself. Now, let's compare that to the S&P 500 real quick. Now, look at this. This is interesting. So at one point today, the S&P was showing, just like the Nasdaq, a nice strong candle, but it gave it back. Remember, there's different stocks in these indices. So, you know, the Nasdaq may be artificially held up. The S&P is obviously bigger. There's more stocks, and this is conflict, right? It's conflicting off of the same type of resistance zone. That is not a good candle. That is not what we should be seeing if the Nasdaq is closing strong, right? So if we take out this low tomorrow, which is 36, basically the 3650 area, that's a sell signal, especially after a pin bar at such a location. So what does that mean for the Nasdaq? That means the Nasdaq is probably artificially held up because, you know, there's only 100 stocks in this thing and they're going to fake out, okay? So with that being said, do you think it's a good idea to be buying stocks aggressively or buying to hold stocks at this time? Not at this location, especially tech stocks, because it looks like they're setting up to fake out. Okay, even though there's some buying activity going on. This is fine if you're a day trader. This is fine if you're in and out, you know, you're grabbing some, there's a swing trade or something, you want to take some profits. Okay, fine, no problem. But this is not a good place for investing. Definitely not, because the risk is just too high. Okay, the risk of retrace is very high. Now, we have to see how they behave as the week plays out, but that S&P is definitely a red flag. So that's going to affect market stocks, right? A market stock is something that's highly correlated to the S&P, like AMD. Oh, big surprise, right? Look, AMD is on its highs, okay? Is this a good place to be buying AMD? Definitely not, even though it looks like it's trying to break out. Other stocks, look, Tesla, very popular stock, right? Everyone likes Tesla. Trying to be strong today, up 28 points. I wouldn't go near this thing at these levels. I just wouldn't. I want to buy a support, not a resistance, okay? Now, Michael mentioned NIO. Now look at this situation. So NIO is the biggest competitor to Tesla, right? A Chinese car company. And what's going on here? So Tesla is trying to pop up. NIO is at a support. This is what I'm talking about, at a support. And not only is it a support, it's a double bottom situation, actually triple bottom situation. Today's candle is green. Okay, I mean, you can't, this is really a tough spot to do anything because there's no specific buy signal at this moment. But, you know, you can argue that tomorrow, if you're above today's high of 41.5, that would be a buy signal. And you can measure your risk very clearly here. And we all know NIO is a mover. Okay, I mean, profit targets could be in the high 40s back to the low 50s. That's within reason. So it's just something to keep in mind. Now, that's one stock that's going to be on the watch list for this week. Also, you know, obviously the other electronic car companies, you know, that's a hot sector because there's a lot of potential there. Look, Nikola looks like garbage right now. Still not breaking that support, but there's no reason to buy it. Okay, what about Workhorse? Nah, I don't like it. Okay, I'm not too crazy about this. This just doesn't look good. So if something doesn't look good, there's plenty of other opportunities. No need to force things, right? FUV, another one. This looks a little more similar to NIO, but I would like to see it pull back and maybe retest the $10.50 support, okay? And give us a failed low. So we'll talk more about these on the Talking Market show tomorrow. We're also, because we're gonna do a little segment on Tesla since they were, you know, given a target of $89 from Goldman Sachs, and so we're gonna spend a little time addressing that, what that means for these things. Now, so those are a couple of things. Now there's another stock. I put this in the chat room earlier today, and it's called Blue City, BLCT, I think is the ticker. Yeah. Blue City Holdings. Check this out. Now there are no, I was looking for options on this stock. There are no options. But this is a type of stock. There's two things I want to point out about this stock. Okay. For one, you should put this on your watch list for this week. This thing obviously IPO'd back here in July. And this is a good reason or a good example as to why you should not buy on IPO day. I don't care how great they say the stock is. I don't care how blah, 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 nonsense, blah, 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 right? Doesn't matter. It's all hype. By the time it goes public, all the insiders are, you know, the people that had a chance to buy it before you because they're preferred customers of Goldman Sachs unload onto you, right? Or the Robinhood people. So it's best to let these things settle. This thing took, what, 3 months to settle, right? From July, actually more than 3 months. 4 months to settle. 4 months of just watching this thing just go lower and lower and lower and lower and lower. Okay, this thing reached the bottom in October. What are the lows there? $8.50 basically, right? And it stabilized from October to basically December and it had the pop. Now we're starting to get some structure, potential reversal structure. I wouldn't go chasing this thing, but put it on your radar because if we take out this high of basically $11.50 or $12, that's going to be a new buy signal. And these things are low float stocks, so they have some potential. All right, so I just wanted to mention that. We'll probably again highlight these again on Talking Markets because one of these, or maybe something else, depends on who everyone's ideas, will become the trade of the week. Okay, the previous trade of the week was PLL. And look, this thing isn't performing that great. They don't always do well, right? The stop is at 23.80. Today's low is 24.37. So this thing is still in play, but as you can see, it's consolidating. And this is another fast mover when it moves, but when it doesn't move, it sucks. Okay, so this is like a $5 stop out. That's why we always say, you know, you have to, if for example, if $28 stock is kind of expensive for you, it might be, and you know you want to buy 100 shares, is it worth risking $500? No. It depends on your account too. We always recommend 1% risk. So if you have you know a $10,000 account, you should only be risking $100 per trade, right? Or position. So what do? Can you take a $5 stop? No, you reduce the size. You reduce the size so that a $5 stop equates to 1%. Okay. All right. So that's enough of that. Let me see how I'm doing with time. Oh man, I talk too much. I was hoping had finished this earlier. All right. So let's get into the chat here and let's see what you guys have. And by the way, before I do, real quick, if you're new to Greenbridge Investing, again, I just want to say, make sure that you press the like button, please, if you like the video that I'm doing, and register for the channel here, subscribe so you get an email notification from YouTube, and check out greenbridgeinvesting.com. We have a 7-day free trial. We have swing trade signal service by text, by email. Also, if you become a free member, you get the trades of the week, which, again, they don't always work out great, but they're really good examples of how to take swing trades, because we give you all the orders in advance. So you can even paper trade them and see how they play. We've had some great winners too. Okay. And so that's for free members. Everyone gets that trade. We send them out tomorrow or Wednesday, whenever I can get them out after the show, after we choose the new trade of the week. So I just wanted to mention that. Also, we have the swing trade signal service. We have the chat room, and we have our portfolio management ideas. We have a 7-day free trial. Check it out. All right. Now, let me get to the chat. All right. So HS, so XRP, right? I covered XRP. So yeah, I was ahead of you there, right? We looked at XRP. Link, so Link USDT. So again, these situations now, Link, I don't need the full history of the chart. I can work with this right here. So Link is trying to follow Bitcoin. You have a double bottom situation right there, which is good. Okay, if you're in this thing, that's a nice place to measure risk from. Bitcoin's trying to move, and this thing has a leg higher. Okay, this is acceptable. The thing is, I am not crazy about these to begin with, because again, Bitcoin, relatively speaking, is much higher. I mean, Bitcoin is basically 1,000 points off of its high. I mean, it's at its high, and this thing should, I think, be closer to its high. It really should be. All right, but it's trying to act in line with Bitcoin, which is fine. Okay, so you can think of this as an alternative to Bitcoin. If you don't want to trade Bitcoin, maybe it's too expensive, or you want to be able to use more money and buy a cheaper coin rather than use leverage, this could be an alternative. But here's what you have to watch for. If Bitcoin breaks out, this thing should be breaking out. Okay, this thing should be taking out this $15 resistance. If Bitcoin's pushing 20K or 20K 100, 20K 200, this thing should be on its highs. If it's not on its highs and it's acting relatively weak, like it's just floundering around, then that usually calls for an adjustment. That's a red flag. You don't want to get caught in that. That means it's acting relatively weak. Okay, so that's what you need to watch for on something like this. At this moment, I mean, if you bought it right now at, what is this, $12.83, your risk is defined by basically 11 and a quarter, right? So as long as it stays above there, you should be in good shape if Bitcoin breaks out. That's going to be the same for a lot of these, right? You ask about Ethereum. Let's pull up Ethereum. Okay, look, Ethereum obviously is acting like Litecoin. Looks just like the Bitcoin chart. Okay, looks just like it. Has the consolidation, just like Bitcoin. Has the attempt higher. It has the higher low, just like Bitcoin. Okay, so these are alternatives, as in altcoins. They're alternatives to Bitcoin. If Bitcoin goes, Bitcoin is the leader. If Bitcoin goes, these should go. So the mistake you don't want to make is don't be confused by buy signals in these things if Bitcoin is not showing a buy signal. Like you can say, oh, pin bar over here. Okay, yeah, I'm going to buy it. But if Bitcoin, you can get a buy signal in Ethereum. If there's no buy signal in Bitcoin and Bitcoin goes nowhere, you're just getting sucked into noise. So just like we use the S&P as the leader for stocks, use Bitcoin as your leader for these altcoins, okay? It's just basically a smaller version of Bitcoin. Now, Monero is this is a outperformer. This is, I think, the only outperformer. Wow. We've talked about this one a number of times. We haven't had any recent trades in it, but we had a nice trade not too long ago in this thing. This is doing its own thing. Bitcoin is not making highs, and this thing is. That is a sign of relative strength. So this is obviously a strong coin. You should not even be thinking about shorting it. But at this point, you can't chase this either, right? What's today's high? 158, basically. So at this point, all you can do is look for the next support, which would be this level here, old resistance, 139, 140. If you get a retest of that, that would be an attractive area for a buying opportunity. I mean, if we go back in history here and see like when Monero was higher to see what kind of levels we're facing, look at this. Going back to 2018, right, which was the Bitcoin peak, right, the beginning of 2018. Look at this price action in Monero, right? We're basically now touching the bottom of that old 2018 support. You see that? This is important. See that level right there? That is 163. That old support, you better believe, is going to act as a new resistance. So do you want to be buying this thing at that level? No, not a place to be buying. That's where people who don't know any better, that's where they buy it. Because there's going to be a lot of people that are stuck from 2 years ago, and they're going to be very happy to unload it onto whoever wants to buy at that price. So that's something to keep in mind. So thanks for bringing that one up. Now, yeah, it may push. It's not going to go exact. These things aren't exact. It may go, a few points higher, blah, blah, blah. It's the general area is a low probability area for new longs. So wait for 140. That's what I would say with that before doing anything else. Now, if you're in it, maybe you're in it, in a move like this, lock something in, maybe lock 10 or 15% or maybe 20% of what you got at this point, let it run. And if you get the sell signal up in this 160s there, another place to unload more. And if it breaks some kind of minor support, get out of the whole thing if it's a swing trade. If it's inventory, well, you're going to ride the pullback and see where the next support is and then add back whatever inventory you sold. Okay, so thanks for bringing up those. Yeah, Monero is definitely a outperformer, should be on everyone's radar as far as a strong altcoin that's doing its own thing. Okay, so, okay, cool, HS. Theta, so David, okay, so Theta, I guess you're talking about the Theta coin, which is, what's the ticker for that? Let me see, Theta USDT. So, okay, now, I haven't heard from this one in a while. This is a good structure, all right, clearly higher lows and higher highs. It's generally strong. Your support is right there, which is 56 cents, right? It means it needs to stay above that, otherwise the structure is compromised. You're now attempting to push the high. I like it. It's relative strength. It's relatively strong, okay? This is what like other altcoins should be doing. As we saw, XRP is not doing this, right? So that's a nice contrast. At this point, I mean, if you're in it, just let this thing run and look for the breakout, right? This thing should break out. If you're not in it, then you have a couple of choices here. You can try playing the breakout, right? Breaks out above this high, but you have to hope it doesn't fake out, and you have to hope it keeps going. You're going to need Bitcoin probably to be doing a similar thing to carry this, right? And then you get that next leg higher. Otherwise, you get caught in the fake out, right? So if you don't want to take that chance, or you just take a smaller bite, and if it fakes out, you're like, all right, whatever, I'll buy more of it at a lower price because that's what I was planning to do anyway. Again, you take a small position that won't affect you, and then if it can pull back to somewhere near the low or the middle of the range, in this situation, I don't mind the middle of the range if it fails to break out, because a lot of times there's a lot of buyers sitting at the middle of the range. So that would be in a much more attractive area, which is what, 67, basically the mid 60s, mid 60 cent area would be more attractive than buying it here. And now remember, I'm talking about swing trades. Investing is a different story, and for investing, pretty much you can buy at any price. It's just a function of size, right? You're not going to take your full position at a high. You take a small bite, and once it gives you better prices, you start averaging in. The thing is with these altcoins, this one's a nice strong market. So averaging into this at this point still makes sense. But if it breaks a support like that 56 area, let me give you an example. if it, let's say you buy, I don't know, let's say maybe you buy 100 coins up here, okay, at the 70 cent area, but your plan is to buy 1,000 coins, but you only buy 1/10 of that position up here. It starts to pull back, okay? You buy maybe 300 or 400 more coins in the middle of the range, pulls back. Buy a few hundred more coins. Now you're basically almost at your 1,000, let's say, your 1,000 coin average, position, which means you'll have an average profit, an average price of somewhere in the middle. If it breaks the support, you don't keep putting more on. Now you have your average position and you have to let it stabilize, because a mistake is if this thing changes its trend, because again, these are not like quality stocks. They're moving, capital's flowing into it. Okay, great. But it's an altcoin. It's highly speculative. If it breaks and you keep putting on more and more and more, and this thing goes to zero, you have a problem. So these, you have to be very careful when you're averaging. Okay, and that's more of an inventory investment type of perspective. That's basically how we managed Bitcoin from 2018 to where we are now, and we turned a negative portfolio into a positive one, doing it like that. But for one, we believed in the fundamentals of Bitcoin, and obviously many institutions also believe in the fundamentals of Bitcoin, even though it is still highly speculative. Okay, something like Theta, it might as well be a penny stock. So you have to be careful with that. Okay. On Huobi, this is Binance's. I mean, but it's going to be the same. Here, I'll pull up Theta on Huobi. Let's see here, but I would imagine it's going to be very similar. Here, let me pull that up here. Yeah, it's the same chart. Okay, same chart. I mean, the price might be slightly different, but it's the same situation. So all that analysis that I just gave you for 3 hours there, it still stands. It's still good. Okay, cool. Hey, hello, hello. Hello, hello, hello. I like your name. CLVS. CLVS. Okay. Oh, I like it. Let's see. So right off the bat, I mean, I like stocks that are near supports. Now this is one of those, biotech, pharmaceutical, whatever. And these things have been nuts. I mean, day traders have been all over these things, especially when they do stuff like this, right? That's day traders pops up on the radars. And you see these guys making videos. I made $15,000 today because I bought 30,000 shares of this stock. I mean, that's what they're doing. So let's talk about where it is now. So look at this. So you had that move back in November of 2019? Yeah, right. It's been correcting since then. What a lousy corrective type of structure. It gave back most of those gains, right? And that puts us to where we are now. It had a low. Here, let me highlight that low. Had a low back here, the March April low, and we almost came back to that low recently. Now, all right. So this stock doesn't have the best structure in the world, right? That's basically the point of that. Now, you are at a support. You do have an initial push off the support, which is good recently. You have a higher low, followed by today's price action, which is bullish. Okay, so you have a reversal structure in play. The way you can work with something like this, because again, remember, now how much is this stock? Okay, it's a $5 stock, $5.30. This may be a good candidate for a breakout. All right, you have a higher low. So you look for the close or the push above $5.43, or basically $5.50, because where there are higher lows, usually a higher high will follow, right? I mean, that's typically, that's something that's strong. Now, this stock is not exactly strong. It's been more of range bound. So you may get a push here. The question is, what is your potential and what is your risk? All right, just going back to recent price activity, you're looking at like this area right here as your potential for profit. I wouldn't go crazy and say, oh, it's $10 higher. I wouldn't be doing that, because this stock doesn't have that structure. It's just not there. Now, again, news can come out and change things, but you can't depend on that. Okay, so this would be an extreme. This would be like a home run price way up here above $10. I wouldn't look for those. If you're going to play something like this as a swing trade, you're looking at a potential breakout of 550. Your risk is defined at 481, which isn't bad. So you figure 450. So you figure you're going to risk $1 It's not bad. And you're going to go for at least $1.50, $2. Is that reasonable on here? Yeah, because $7 is this high right here. So that's basically, you know, your $1.50 to $2 max target. Perhaps you can, if you get a runner, it goes a little further. But your reward risk should be at least 1 to 1. Okay, at least. So that's how I would play that breakout. Otherwise, if it fakes out, if you buy it and it fails, it gets stopped out, the next thing you're looking for is a retest of the support and a reversal there. That would be a nice double bottom if it can produce something like that. And again, you'd have the similar targets again. But then you could get out of some at the $5 and $5.50 area where all the, where more people would jump in in that scenario. Okay, so you see how to adjust to that. So anyway, thanks for bringing that one up. I like these. These are often, what I like about stocks like this is not a market stock. These tend to do their own thing based on news. So it's not highly correlated to the S&P. All right, I like that because you're not at the mercy of the S&P. If the S&P has a nasty pullback, this may feel it somewhat, but it's not going to be like the semiconductor index, which will feel it majorly, okay, or like the energy sector, because they're all very tied into the S&P. All right, so thanks for bringing that up. Hello. Pow, still watching NLS. Looks like a setup. Also BLRX. Okay, let's take a look. Okay, so let's start with NLS. Is that Nautilus? Oh yeah. So look, that's a nice strong, look at that, clearly bullish stock, right? For months and months. You have a nice pullback in it. I like to see that correcting the bullish move, and this pullback is at a nice area. We had an attempt at a double bottom situation here, but it has not followed through, okay? That happens. Just because you get this type of situation doesn't mean it guarantees follow through. But look where you are now. You're in an attractive, this is a very attractive area. It's a failed low. All right, it's a failed low just outside of a consolidation of a stock that's generally strong. This is a high probability location right here. So definitely this could be a play, this could be a trade of the week, okay? Possibly. Now let's look at the price action today. Now you notice how I'm starting out, I'm evaluating the trend. It's the first thing I do. I look for a trend. Is there one? Is there not one? Then I'm looking for structure, or basically levels. Okay, so I'm looking for support and resistance. And then I'm looking for the price action. Right? Notice I'm commenting, the third thing I'm commenting on is the price action. Let's look at the price. So we had a pin bar the other day, followed by a red outside bar, followed by another inside bar today. So it's hesitating. Okay, it's hesitating. What we need to know is, if we get involved in something like this, what is the risk and what is the reward? Well, the risk will be defined by these lows, 16.5. You have to give it some more room, so you figure 16 even, something around there would be where the stop would go. And what is the potential profit? Well, if this thing pops off the failed low, you're looking at, what is this, basically the $20 area? Yeah, basically the $20 area. So where are we at right now? We close at 17. So you're looking at about $1.25 of risk to go to for at least the first target, $3 higher. Yeah, I like the potential. The reward risk is at least 2 to 1. And we're talking about pushing the middle of the range. We're not even talking about testing the highs. Okay? So that's all good. Now, some people may like to get mixed up with fundamentals. I mean, every time we do talking markets, the first thing Henry and Andrew pull up, oh, well, they make equipment and I buy the equipment and I like where the screen is and all this other nonsense. Okay, I guess they do that for a dramatic effect, but when it comes to trading, it means nothing. Now, especially for swing trades, and that's what I'm very short-term oriented. So that's why I don't ever look at fundamentals ever. For these type of trades. I'm only interested in technical patterns and momentum and movements to take place over the next couple of weeks. I don't care where the stock is a year from now. So I like the potential. I like the reward risk. So definitely a good one, NLS, for the radar. Now, also in BLRX, let's take a look at this. So you're saying you're still in 1/3 and you're letting it run. Okay, let's take a look. Those are always good to learn from. BLRX. Now, Ooh, wow. Pow. Why didn't you tell us about this one? This one would have been a good trade of the week. Let's see. Again, what is it? Bioline. It sounds like a pharma, right? Not surprised. That's what these things do. I mean, all the day traders are in these things. Now, let's take a look at the overall trend. There's really not, the recent trend has been somewhat bearish going into the March low. Then it went into a range bound situation, followed by this gap, okay? Change of structure. The gap was pretty dramatic. Obviously, that's, news based. I don't even know the news. I don't need to know it. I can tell by the price action. It broke that resistance right there, formed the higher low. Okay, nice. Now it's vertical. So, can't chase it, as you know. And Powell is saying he's in it, and he's letting his 1/3 ride. Well, I'll tell you one thing, Powell. There's no sell signal at the moment. So you've locked in 2/3 of your position. Great. As far as how much potential you should expect from this thing, let's take a look at previous price history. And let's see where there are some old supports which can act as resistances going forward. Because that's really what matters, is anticipating price action, not reacting to it. So you have a support, an old support there, which is what, 5 1/4, okay? And then you have perhaps, let me see here, you have another one around this area here. Remember, they're never exact. It's just a general area, but it gives you an idea. So you're looking at basically 5 1/4 or $6. Those are, and that's quite a ways from here. You're at 340 right now. So you may even have, there's a little support back in June over here. What is that? 473. Okay, so those are your levels, right? So you're looking at basically 473, or you can even translate that into the 450 area. Sometimes it's a good idea just to round it to the whole number, because that's where traders tend to react, the whole numbers, right? So you figure maybe see how, if it can run. At this moment, there's nothing to do but let it run. If it clears 4, then you're looking at 450. If you get a sell signal at 450 or it hesitates there, perhaps it's a good place to take it off. If it just clears it, then you're looking at 5 1/4. So this at least gives you some idea of what is within reason based on historical price action. Okay, so thanks for bringing that one up. Interesting. Next time you got to tell us about it, and not give us what was the one, AUTL. Yeah, why instead you give us AUTL, and meanwhile BRLX is the big winner. I'm just kidding. I'm just messing with you. All right, so let's see. Hey, David, AXS on Binance's chart is a new coin going very well. All right, so, well, let's see what information there is available on AXS on Binance. Let's see. Okay, so I guess it's on Tether, right? Against Tether. Okay. Or is it, or you're using it against Binance coin? I see they have Binance coin, AXS US dollar. All right, so we'll take a look at the Tether version. All right, that pretty much should be good enough. And yeah, so there isn't much. This thing is very new. Okay. Well, I can tell you from this price action, it's bullish, right? Higher. I see a initial push followed by a higher low, and it's going for the higher high. Okay. So if anything, you're in something that's strong, right? And this structure is in play. You have a higher low, right here. Okay, nice. And it's going for the high. It's going for the breakout. So if you're in it, this is good. Hopefully you've locked something in. I don't know where you're in from, but now would be a good place to lock some profit in, because if you haven't, because you're at a resistance. But the thing is, it may clear. Right now there's no sell signal in this right now. And you do have this other little mini higher low right here, from this pin bar, and it looks like it's acting similar to Bitcoin. So okay, that's fine. Some relative strength or similarity. That's a good sign. I would expect the breakout. Okay, beyond 67 cents, and where can it go? That's a good question, because we have no price history to go by. Usually in these situations, you have to go by projections. One thing you can do, without getting complicated, is you take the original move here, right? And you can project this move from this low to this high. You can project that from basically the breakout. And that basically, if you do something like that, this basically becomes 100% of the move or whatever. Now, there's no guarantee it's going to do that, but that kind of gives you an idea of what's within reason. Now, so what I would do in this situation is go by the whole numbers, right? I mean, so look, let me notice like 50 cents, for example. There was some resistance at 50 cents, okay? At 60 cents, there was a little bit of resistance, right? The red candle there, okay? So I would expect, like, if it breaks out, I would expect 80 cents to be a problem, or I'd be looking for resistance there. I'd definitely be looking for $1 as a potential resistance where people will be selling, okay? So see if it can go to one of these places, see if it gives you like a pin bar or bearish thing, and that would be a signal to probably unload a little more. But if you have a winner, you know, it never hurts to just let them run until either A, you get the sell signal, or B, it takes out a support, okay? Keep something in mind. You're never going to get the top, okay? So don't feel bad if you leave some money on the table. That's just the nature of this game. So I just wanted to mention that. Thanks for bringing that one up. I'm not familiar with AXS, so it's interesting to see. Let me see what else we got. I'm just catching up on the chat. Man, I'm behind. Okay, ETH and XRP. Okay, so Shervin, I went over those before. XRP especially, I went over that one twice. So if you go back in the video, you can see that. Okay, BBB. Why? Bed Bath & Beyond. I've been watching this, pal. You must have the same radar that I have. I've been looking at this because this one popped up on one of my things. And I like the broader structure, definitely. And I like the consolidation. And I like the higher low, right? And I like this double bottom situation right here. Double bottom in something that's generally strong. The thing about Bed Bath & Beyond is it's not the fastest mover in the world, right? I mean, if you look at the October low, right? The October low was at 12.5. It took an entire month for this thing to basically go from 12 to 26. Okay, is that horrible? No, it's not horrible, but it's, you know, it took an entire month. So their stocks are moving much faster than that. But okay, you know, that there's nothing wrong with it. But that's just one thing you have to keep in mind. Now, since that high, right, and that was a good move for it. Since that high of 26.14, which was made what, in October, the middle of October, it has gone back to $18, and it took what, October, November, almost 2 months. 2 months to work its way back from 26 to 18. So it pulled back $8 in 2 months. $8 in 2 months is slow. So just something to keep in mind. If this thing starts to go again, are you going to see a move as dramatic as this? I mean, anything is possible, but obviously it started with a gap. So that's likely news driven, right? So maybe that was earnings. I don't even know what that gap is about. Then you had a bearish gap here. So it's definitely in an area where it's settling. This might be a good one for, I mean, when it comes to options, I like faster movers because I need these things to get to somewhere quickly in order to realize a decent profit on the cheap options deep out of the money. That's why you need to buy a lot of time. For something like this, you probably need to buy 8 to 9 months out of the money on an out of the money call option. You know, or maybe even a year if they're cheap enough, because it's such a slow mover. This thing wasted 2 months just to move $8, right? That's a lot of time. You can't buy a 3-month option and think you're going to make money with that. You know, a deep out of the money option. So I like the location. It definitely fits the criteria for a long. The recent price action, there's nothing. I don't like this price action. I don't like this close today. Okay, but it's in a good location. So if you could take out like a high, perhaps today's high, tomorrow, 1951. So you start pushing those higher 19s. That could be a long signal there. Your risk will be measured from 18. So you're looking at $1.50 risk if you buy the stock outright. And a reasonable expectation is the middle of the range. So you're looking at $22, $23, especially if it tries to close this gap area here. So it's a little over 1-to-1 reward risk. Okay, that's fine. But again, I would like to, you know, do like maybe a deep out of the money option, like maybe the $25 call, or maybe a little higher, maybe the $30 call, but it's going to have to be like a year out for this to allow this thing to waste a couple of months doing nothing before getting toward that strike price. Because remember, when you buy a deep out of the money call, the delta is going to be very low. That's good if the stock is going against you, but it's not good when the stock is going with you, because you're not really, it's very hard to make money unless the stock is moving fast. Okay, something like Jumia. So the delta is the change for every dollar that the stock moves. It's the change of the option premium itself. So if you buy a deep out of the money option a year out, you probably have like a delta of maybe 20 cents, whatever, 25 cents. You could look that up on your broker platform. That means for every dollar that this thing moves, you're only going to make like 20 cents or whatever until it becomes at the money. Then usually the delta is 50 cents. And then when it goes deep in the money, that's when it gets closer and closer to $1. But in that type of play, you're not looking for that. You're just looking for, you want to buy something cheap and you want it to increase, 100%, 200%, and you get out, right? That's what you do. Even if you have a bunch of time left in it, you can't stay in long options very long. It's usually not a good idea. That's why you need to buy a lot of time. Okay, enough rambling on that. What else do we have here? So thanks for bringing that one up. I definitely like it. Okay, David, waves. Other ones are USD pairs as well. Okay, waves. Someone brought up waves not too long ago. How's waves doing these days? Let's see. Okay, oh nice. Wow, great structure. See, these structures obviously show there's capital flowing into these, clearly. That's what you want to see, right? I mean, look at that. Wow, okay. So nice higher low, nice breakout, nice higher high. Okay, so we can argue it's bullish, no question about that. This thing is $8.50. So it looks like it's doing, this is similar price action to Bitcoin right now. It's in a consolidation right now. So the trend is bullish. What I want to know are the levels. Where are my support and resistance levels? In fact, this looks very similar to Bitcoin with this price action here. So that almost compares to the 18,500 inflection point. So you're looking for supports. You have one in this area right here. What is that? $7.30. And then you have one a little bit lower. You have one, actually you have one around here somewhere. You can take that kind of the average of the two prices. That's about $5.30. So somewhere in the mid fives, you have, that's a more extreme support. That would probably equate to the 13 or 14K area on Bitcoin. So at this moment, I would not buy waves. If you get the breakout, meaning you get the breakout at 932, so this thing starts pushing the 9.25, and Bitcoin is breaking out also, then you can go for the breakout, but just keep in mind, you have to watch for the fake out. If Bitcoin can't get through that 20,200 area, that zone, then this will probably fake out too. So just be prepared for that type of risk. I mean, again, your initial risk, you're measuring from $7.30, or basically 7.25. So if you bought it right now, or if you bought that breakout high, you're basically looking at, $2 of risk on something like that, and you need to make at least $2 to justify that. Can this thing run, another $2? I mean, anything is possible, but Bitcoin's going to have to support that, okay? So in those situations, if you get into it, because again, these are highly speculative, if you get into it and it tries to break out and maybe it's like $1 in your favor and it starts to give you a hard time, you always have the option to start reducing your risk, reducing your size, and in case you get caught, in case the thing fakes out. You have to be on top of it, okay? Okay, the other ones are USD pairs too. So David, I'm not sure what you're referring to. I guess maybe you're talking on Theta. Okay. Say Sean, if you Google position size calculator, you can help figure out that smaller position thing. Took me a while. Oh, okay. Yeah, calculator. That's interesting, Sean. Yeah, it can really help. I'm actually I would like to make a calculator that would cover a lot of these things. So basically all you have to do is put the information in and you get all your answers. But I need someone to program that for me. I'd like to make like a software one, not just like a Google Sheet one. Anyway, hey Alice, nice to see you. So Alice has a question here. I'm looking for a long-term 20-year investing in the indices. Which one would you recommend? Is one enough? I would invest in it yearly with ads on any? Okay, that's a good question, Alice. Alice is one of our longest members, by the way. He's been around probably one of the longest. Him, Irina, and Fonz, and Michael, and DJ. They've been around with us almost 2 years. So anyway, thanks for the question, Alice. Um, so let me think about that. They're all basically the same, right? So the S&P, the NASDAQ, the IWM. Let's take a look at. Oops. Let's take a look at the S&P. Remember, you're betting on the stock market, okay, as a whole. And here's the thing. So if you like the general stocks in the S&P, or which has, they have their consumer staples, they have their energy stocks, they have all, what the stocks that are in there, then that's going to be more appropriate for that. If you're more into the tech, then that's going to be more appropriate for the NASDAQ 100. I mean, you also have the industrials, right? The Dow. But one thing is, they all pretty much move together. So if you're looking for long term, Alice, one thing I would tell you is, there's no need to buy at these prices because you're at long term highs, right? We have not been, and if we go back, let's just pull up, let's see, can I pull up a monthly calendar on here, right? A monthly chart on the NASDAQ, I'm sorry, on the S&P. I mean, look at this. Look at this. We're at the highs of the highs, right? You see that? So this is probably not a good place to even begin investing. If you want to invest for the long term and you want to put money in on a monthly basis, doing that drip method that Andrew talks about all the time, okay, fine. But the thing is, what you should probably do is at such levels, you adjust your size relative to the level. So at such extreme highs where we are right now, this is not a place to be buying a larger position. So let's just say your goal is to invest $100 a month into the index. Okay, that's what you want to invest in, $100 a month, $1,200 a year. At such a relative high, instead of putting $100 in, put $25 in. Okay, a quarter of what your intention is, so that when this thing starts pulling back, you're not going to feel anything, but you're still going to have some shares. Okay, and when it starts pushing some dramatic levels, then you start increasing your monthly size. Yeah, it might require some a little more effort to do something like that, but I think it'll give you a much better weighted average position than buying equal amounts starting at the high, because this is just a ridiculous price. Now, if we were at the lows, like for example, the March lows, that's where, you can put on more than your 100 share allocation, $100 allocation. Perhaps you put in $200 or $300 that month because these are great prices. Okay, that's where you do something like that. So that's how I would suggest doing something like that. Also, if you're going to use the ETF, that's fine. Make sure you're getting paid dividends, right? That's the whole point of the drip, by the way, the dividends. Or maybe you do it with a stock that's pretty much correlated with like the S&P. But if you, like I said, you want to do it with an index, I believe the ETFs pay a dividend. Okay, like the S&P 500, I believe they pay one, the SPY. But you might want to double check on that. Okay, so thanks for the question. Let me see. And that's how I would handle something for long term. And if time, can you look at Noah? Okay, it's on KuCoin Exchange. Sure. So let's take a look. I mean, I must be I'm at an hour. Okay, I still have some time. NOIA. Okay, first, hold on. Let me change my time frame here. So let's go back to 1440. And let's go to NOIA USDT. And oh man, are you still in this thing? I remember you brought this thing up a little while back. And wow, that's a nice move. I mean, that's 25 cents. Okay, this is outperforming. This isn't doing its own thing, right? Okay, this is great. This is like Monero. So if you manage to stay in this, I remember you said you were in it and you were just letting it run. You were letting a portion of it run. There's no reason to get out of this thing right now. You have nothing but higher lows and higher highs. As far as support and resistance goes, you have right now, that's where your next relevant support is, right there at 14 cents. Okay, so yeah, this thing may pull back a bit. Look, I mean, look at today's candle, right? The low of today was 20 cents. The high is 25 cents. I mean, that's a lot for such an inexpensive coin. So if you're in it, there's no reason to get out at this moment. Even though you have this indecisive candle, I would look for another high. If it can't break the highs and it takes out the low instead, then that's where you might want to make another adjustment. But I mean, something like this, it's like, just let it, what's it going to do? Pull all the way back to the support? I mean, it can. That's where you'd want to buy more. These things are like gambling. These things are like playing the lottery. But if I was in something like this, yeah, I would just let it run. At this point, I would let it run until I got a clear sell signal, which is not this candle yet. Okay, you could trail the stop as well. You could trail it 2 bars behind, right? So right now, if you were doing that, right, 1, 2, your stop would be behind at this low, 16, basically 16, 1, 6, 1, 2, right around there, and see if this thing wants to keep running. Okay, eventually it'll stop you out, but you're not going to get the high. All right, so that's how I would manage something like that. Nice job. Thanks for bringing that one up again, Pow. Yeah, no, I know AUTL. We got complaints about it. They're like, yeah, thanks a lot, Pow, with the AUTL. I'm just kidding. No, people understand. I mean, I like the setup. They don't all work out, as you could see with our trades of the week too. They don't all work out. That's the market. I told you guys about Iova and MitK in the chat. Look at a couple. Oh yeah, I remember Iova. You mentioned Iova a few times. Yeah, that thing. Wow. Yeah, that had a nice move. That I know Andrew was doing something with that one, but I don't think we were in the most recent leg there. That was nice. I remember you bringing that up, David. Yes, I'm in AXS a little after it started that second leg. Would take some out at that resistance, but as it's still close to entry and not even 1-to-1 on the stop, as well as Bitcoin's recent bullish action. Okay, David. So yeah, I mean, look, it's a good idea to try to give it that chance, that AXS. But if it in this situation, so you're not at 1-to-1 yet, and you're like, okay, so I only give it more of a chance. Fine, but if it gives you a hard time, if it starts to give you a hard time, it's not a bad idea to reduce your risk. So even if you're not going to get your 1-to-1 and it starts to hesitate or whatever, it won't hurt to take something off, right? Just to protect yourself. That's all I'm saying. But okay, thanks for bringing that one up. Pow, just use the long position tool on TradingView. It's great for RR. Oh yeah, you're talking about the trade, this little tool right here. You're talking about this thing? I think you're talking about that thing. All right. Lower bar is, oh right, okay, I think, yeah, that's what you're talking about. Okay, Alice, not buying here for sure. We'll start on a decent pullback. It's a savings plan for your kids. Oh, nice. Okay, yeah, so that's definitely, so even on the pullback, so just let's go back, let's go to the SPY, right, which is what you'd probably be buying for such a long-term situation. And you want to find those dramatic inflection points, right? If we go back this year, right, how many dramatic inflection points do we have? What is a dramatic inflection point? When you get like a steep pullback, something that's, like from, what is this? From 346 to 327. I mean, that's a decent percentage pullback, right? It's decent. That's what I would consider like something dramatic. When you see something like that, that's a good place to, start looking, right? But you want to see, when you see those dramatic pullbacks, that's a good place to put on more. But if you want to buy each month, I would wait until we at least come back to some kind of decent level before you even begin, right? And you'll get much better prices. Okay, thanks for bringing that up. David, Bittrex has the best chart for waves. The all-time high is over 18 USD. It looks like it wants to go there now. Oh, okay. So for waves, we can throw that on there again. And you mentioned that who has the best? Bittrex. Let's see. Bittrex. That's Waves BTC. This is Waves Bittrex USD right here. So yeah, I mean, but it's basically the same, right? So these exchanges, they may have slightly different prices. I wouldn't read too much into that. Bitcoin has to do its thing, and then these things will do their thing, right? Except the ones that are outperforming. Like this one isn't really outperforming. It looks like it's doing what Bitcoin is doing compared to some of these other ones, like that NOAA network, whatever that thing is that Alice just brought up. right? NOIA, that thing, Noia network. I mean, that's outperforming, right? That's doing its own thing. Same with Monero. Those are the best coins to be in because, they're not so dependent on Bitcoin as far as, watching them and waiting for better prices. Okay. So let's see what else I have here. Alice. Okay. Okay, cool. Took some off around 15 cents. Okay, cool. All right, nice. All right, so I think I answered everyone's questions. How am I doing with, have I reached the 2 hour point yet? No, it feels that way though. Okay, I think I've answered everyone's questions. Do I have any more questions from the chat? So again, if you're new to Greenbridge, please make sure you press the like button if you like the video, these videos, if you like them, because it's really encouraging for me. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel so you get an email notification, and check out the Talking Market Show with Mark and Andrew tomorrow, and Henry. That's tomorrow at 4 p.m. EST, which is, just around this time. And check out greenbridgeinvesting.com. We have our swing trade signal service by text, by email, and we have a portfolio management ideas by email. And many of the members in here have taken those trades and have done well with them, or I should say inventory. And we have our chat room where we update a lot of our ideas. Andrew puts a lot of unique information in there and gives a lot of insight. Also, to answer questions, because people have a lot of questions, especially when things get confusing. Okay? So we really try to help keep the perspective. We give clear perspective so you have a much better idea of what to anticipate. And we've got a lot of good feedback from that. People would normally, like Michael has told us that at one time he would have probably banged out shares of things, but because we told him, hey, it's okay, this is what to expect, blah, blah, blah. He had a lot more confidence, and he managed to stay in positions more where otherwise he may have listened to the news and whatever. And that's a case for a lot of people, right? And that's why we provide the perspective that we do, so that you have the confidence to ride a winner. Even though you'll never maximize it to the top or you'll never get it at the bottom, it's about managing risk, right? Okay, cool. So I have answered everyone's questions. Again, I really appreciate all the participation. Man, you guys got to keep me posted on some of these nutty coins. I mean, there's so many things going on here. I can't keep track of them all. So, I'll leave you with Bitcoin. So again, Bitcoin is the leader. Always remember, keep relative strength in mind first. Always ask a question when it comes to these altcoins, or even if it's a stock. You should be asking the same question of its relationship with the S&P. Is the S&P making new highs? Is my stock making new highs? Is my stock a market stock? Okay, it may not be. These usually small cap pharmaceutical stocks are not market stocks. They're driven on news, and a lot of times they do their own things. Okay, fine. So the S&P won't be your timing gauge in those scenarios where you rely more on the chart and more on the on the other information that we gather from a chart. When it comes to Bitcoin, the altcoins are pretty much tied to Bitcoin unless you have a few of these exceptions like Waves, right? And Monero and Noia network, or Noia. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing that right. But those are doing their own thing. And as you can see, Bitcoin is not breaking out yet, and they're ahead. So that can change, but as long as it stays in place, fine. That's a strong coin. It's behaving well. Remember, they're all speculative, so you don't want to go nuts and pour a lot of money into it because something changes and you get caught, right? You don't want to do that. You're better off. There are so many stocks out there that offer better, reward risk. They're legitimate companies that report, they have to report their information publicly. I mean, look at these pot stocks. I'm just gonna, whenever I talk about speculative stocks, I always bring up these because they're highly speculative, right? But they sell cannabis products or whatever, and they were hated for a while. But these are public companies, so we can see if there's any kind of funny things going on with them. It most likely will be somewhere you can see it in their reports, right? The CEO is doing something stupid, or you can't trust them, or they let go of their CEO for whatever reason, is dishonest, whatever, blah, blah, blah. You see all that. You don't see any of that with the altcoins, right? You have to rely on rumors, and you don't know what's true and what's not true and all this and all that. There's no oversight, okay? So just keep that in mind with the altcoins. They're great. You can make money with them. use Bitcoin as your guide for most of them. Okay, and if that relative strength or that relative, I'm sorry, if that relative weakness is there rather than the strength, then you should probably be more conservative with that coin rather than aggressive. All right, so I'll leave you with that before I ramble on for 3 hours here. Okay, cool. No problem. I want you to come away from this with more insight and confidence so that when things are taking place, you're better prepared to make decisions based on your risk profile. I mean, that's the whole idea. That's what we do, and that's what we encourage. So thank you again all for your great participation and your great questions. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you in the chat room tomorrow. Make sure you check out Talking Markets with Mark and Andrew at 4 p.m. because we're going to cover the whole Tesla guidance situation, whatever, with Goldman Sachs. We're going to talk about that and what is relevant about it and what is not, okay? Because that's a big topic, and that affects all the electric vehicle makers, right, which are big stocks on our radar. We like to follow those and look for opportunities in those as well. All right, so check that out. Plus, we always talk about Bitcoin and everything else that we could fit into that hour. So thank you again, and I will see you next time. Thank you for watching.